think we're live. 1 second. Wade is kind of panting, which, oh yeah, the air conditioner is not running. There we go. That should cool him off. Okay, before we get started, for Nick and Joseph, I'm not sure if Joseph made it today. If somebody identifies themselves as a child in the stream, please just block them. This is not for kids, and I'm not going to. We had a kind of an incident on, not an incident, but on Wednesday, we're not babysitters, and with the whole FCC rule, is it FCC? With all the rules, just no kids in chat. I don't want to be responsible for them being preyed upon or any other nastiness. So we will, if you see a kid commenting, I'm a kid, like we had, just block them. Sorry kids, but yeah. Okay, so with this one, I wrote on there that I was working on Fabriano Artistico. I'm wrong. I'm working on Arch's hot press watercolor paper because I couldn't find my other batch of Fabriano. So there you go. It's still a hot press watercolor paper, so the results are pretty much going to be very similar. I'm working in Graphitint and the Derwent extra large graphite. So this is something I didn't know until I talked to Derwent. I was saying, you know, I really like the Graphitint, and I apologize, somebody's mowing right next to me, so you might hear some noise there. But I was asking Derwent, you know, I really like the Graphitint, but I wish that they had blocks like they do with inktense. And she looks at me, she's like, we do. Like, what do you mean you do? Well, it's not called Graphitint, it's called extra large graphite. And these are large blocks. There's only 6 colors, but those 6 colors are pretty useful and make things much easier. So these are really, really cool. And that's what I'm going to be using for kind of my base and background, which will save a lot of time. If you are, yeah, exactly what Nick said. If you are under 13 old, watch quietly and learn. If you don't have these, I mean, you can use inktense, you can just use your pencils. You don't have to use this as a background. But this is going to save me a lot of time, which is kind of important when I'm trying to get something done in 2 hours. So that is that. Oh, and disclaimer, the Derwent Graphitint and the extra large blocks were provided to me by Derwent. So the funny thing is, what I had, and all of the opinions on this video are my own. I'm not, you know, representing them by this video or anything like that. So just get all that legal stuff out of the way. But one of the things that I think was so funny is when I had asked Derwent, I'm like, why do you have blocks? Those would be cool. And they said they did. Yeah, they had already sent those to me. I had them in my art thing all this time. I thought they were graphite, like just plain graphite blocks. I didn't realize they were water soluble. I didn't look closely at the packaging. I had already had them. I felt dumb. So, okay. So I'm going to be using, let's see, where are my brushes? I'll use this oval wash brush to get my base down. Now what I do, and I know I don't have a camera on these, I probably should have, I forgot. It's kind of helpful for these. But what I do with the extra large blocks, I'm just going to dip my brush in water and then make my mixture here and then paint on just like I would with like a watercolor pan. Hi, Jamie. Let's see. Sergi said, thank you for the Graphitint tutorial. I hope my suggestion didn't disturb your schedule or something. No, it was great because sometimes I work in so many different mediums. Sometimes I just forget about one of them until someone mentions it. It's like, oh, I like that medium. That'll be fun. So, oh, do I not have my water brush? I do. Oh, here it is. Okay, I've got it. I'm sort of ready. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and mix my, or get water on the outside. Ooh, that is a dirty brush. Hold on. First, I'm going to clean that brush. That apparently had inktense still on it. We'll wipe that off. There we go. I'm going to get this wet, and the reason for that is it's going to help when I start filling in with a Graphitint. It kind of keeps everything within the lines nicely. And the perspective on here is going to be a little bit skewed from what yours should be drawn, just because of the angle of the camera. Rilla said they also have a 12 color set of Graphitint pan travel set. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm pretty partial though to my inktense travel pan. Like if I was going to bring something with me, I'm pretty sure it was going to be the inktense. I love that travel pan. You know, if I ever left the house. Okay, so I'm going to use a blue and green. We're just going to throw some water on that. I'm just going to make a nice soft background here. You can be doing this in any medium you want. The nice thing is because it's wet, the other thing besides it kind of staying in the lines where I want better on the alpaca, which I'll probably call Llama a million times in this, so I apologize ahead of time. The nice thing is that it's going to blend because it's, oops, as I dropped my brush, it's already so wet that when I come on top with the other colors, see how it just comes out nice and smooth? I don't get those harsh brush strokes. I cannot say that easily. Oh, thank you, Butcher, for the super chat. Butcher said, hello, how are you? I'm currently watching you and Aaron Blaze at the same time live streaming. He just ate the world's hottest chip while drawing. I hope you had a fantastic week. I love Aaron. His work is absolutely amazing. Love his stuff. And I need to follow it. He has a tutorial or a lesson on painting light, a course that he sold recently, and I bought it. I just haven't gotten a chance. I forgot about that. I haven't had a chance to watch it, and I'm really excited because if he did it, I'm sure it's amazing. Okay, I'm going to throw some green in here. So the funny thing is, the thing that inspired me to draw this alpaca with Graphitint, this was a photo that I took myself, and the alpacas, the one in the photo is standing in his pen over by visiting with all the kids who are feeding him. But I had another photo, those of you on Patreon have this one, where he's standing in front of a lake or a pond or something, and it just faded this really soft, muted, the greens and blues, just like this. And when I saw that, it was like, ooh, that'd be a good one for Graphitint. So I'm using this alpaca, but with that background. Susan said, Lisa, Graphitint versus Inktense blocks. Is Graphitint better for animal portraits and landscape versus Inktense? I prefer Inktense because Inktense has more versatility. You've got more colors. I mean, the Graphitint, these are fun, but you are limited on colors. I mean, it's just tinted graphite. It's very muted. You're not going to get the really bold colors. You could get the same look. You can get the same look with Inktense, I think, that you can with Graphitint. You can't get the same look all the time with Graphitint that you can with Inktense. So if I was going to choose one, I would go with Inktense. But these are fairly inexpensive, which is nice. It can be a good way to get someone just kind of started playing with color. Okay, and that is my background. That is it. I just wanted something super soft. You can take a mop brush and kind of fan out some of the brush strokes, but I don't care if they show really. And I'm going to dry that. So if you've got headphones in, plug your ears or take them out. Not your ears. Don't take your ears out, just the headphones. Jason wants to know if I have the notebook. No, I don't even know where I put that notebook, honestly. I spent yesterday laying sod again, repairing. So annoying. I just bought this house, and the warranty guy came out. He was irritated too at the horrible job the landscapers had done on the lawn. My lawn is covered, or they basically had trash of 2x4s and empty water bottles that they squeezed the air out of, put the lid back on, and threw it there on the ground. Plastic tarp and rocks. Big. Some of these rocks are huge. I mean, some are really huge, but most of them I'd get anywhere between here and here. And it's all directly under the grass. Well, the grass isn't growing and it died off. And they put it in right before the freeze hit, but they only gave you a 30-day warranty. Okay, yeah, but I paid the same amount as somebody who moved in the summer where the grass took. Like, this is ridiculous. And I didn't know that they threw the sod on top of trash, and so that the grass wouldn't be able to grow. It couldn't really root over those areas, so it's been an ongoing. Anyway, the warranty guy did give me some dying. It's partially, the roots look good. It should be fine. Sod yesterday, so I spent the day laying that and did not get any work done. I was so exhausted from that. Like, everything hurt. I'm way too old for this, but it's actually kind of fun. I do enjoy working in the yard. But yeah, that was my yard. It looks like Frankenstein right now. Anyway, moral of that story is I got no work done, including looking for the notepad. That was a lot of words for just saying no. I could have just said no, huh? What exactly is the difference between water-soluble watercolor pencils and pen? Can they be interchanged or achieve the same effects? The difference between this and water-soluble colored pencils. So water-soluble colored pencils would be watercolor pencils, not, I don't call, so if you use the term colored pencils, I consider that a wax or oil-based pencil. If you use the term watercolor pencil, that's a watercolor in pencil form. Inktense is ink in pencil form, which are both water-soluble, water-based. The regular colored pencils that are like Prismacolor, Polychromos, Derwent Lightfast or Pro Color, Caran d'Ache Luminance, those are all wax and oil-based pencils. So you wouldn't want to put those down and then put a water-soluble colored pencil or Inktense on top of that because you're going to have archival issues there. You can do the reverse. You can put your watercolor or Inktense down and then put your waxed or oil-based colored pencils on top of that. They're technically different mediums. So I don't like to use the blanket statement of colored pencils, even though technically it's a pencil and color is coming out. So, I mean, you can argue about both ways, but when I use the term colored pencil, I mean a wax or oil-based pencil. Otherwise, I specify by a watercolor pencil, an Inktense, or in this case, Graphitint, which is graphite. It's water-soluble graphite that's tinted. I hope that kind of separates what those are. Let's see. Susan said, Lisa, thanks. I bought the full set of Inktense blocks after your last Inktense live. Thanks. Nice. You're going to have fun with those. Those are one of the more enjoyable mediums I find to work in. I really like those. Joshua said, I'm too old for this. I wish my wife would let me use that excuse. My back, oh my gosh, my back was killing me after that. Well, actually, I think my back was killing me because I played Warcraft for an hour because I was too tired to work. And the way I realized the way I was sitting with my arm, because my mouse is up here and my keyboard's, I now know the source of some of the back problems I've been having, or why it had gotten worse. Anyway, Jody says, I'm turning again. I always miss the beginning of the lives. You're not that late. You're good. So we've got our background color here. We can go ahead and start. And that's really, I mean, I can use the Inktense, or the Graphitint blocks if I want for the Llama, but I told you I was going to call him a Llama. But I'm really going to be using the pencils for more the rest of this. I just wanted to save some time and get that blocked in. Okay. Let's see. Where do we want to start? I'm going to start with his ears, which is pretty typical for me. Now, like always, it's not about having the perfect color. I mean, the Graphitint, actually, let me see if I can hold these up to where you can see them. Graphitint don't have a lot of colors. They are, let me see, is that showing? They are there we go, a water-soluble graphite. You can see there are, there's a greenish tone, there's some blues and kind of reddish tones, but you are limited. And so what we're focusing on here are our values, like always. Are my darks dark enough, my lights light enough? That's what's gonna make this guy look well, I'm not going for super realistic, we've only got 2 hours, but that's what's going to make a difference in this work not looking flat. Let's see, let's grab some of these pencils. God, it's funny, I haven't used them in forever, and there are more colors than I remember there being. Okay, pulling a bunch of these out. So, where is my pencil sharpener? Apparently, I'm not quite as ready as I thought I was. So, one of the things that I do recommend doing, have a scratch piece of paper and test the colors, because sometimes they don't look like, and I'll show you which one I just did this on. Where's a paintbrush here? So here is what this color is marked. It's this light tan, but look at what it looks like. That is not the same color. So you want to test. That's a very odd thing. Now you could, if you thin it out, you can get it kind of close. Like if I really thin it out with a lot of water, keep smudging, I'm getting closer, but it's not exact. So I do recommend have a scratch piece of paper that you can test. That one was called Storm. Beautiful color, but it's not with the outside edge of that pencil. I'm almost tempted on some of these to like actually make a color mix in acrylic and put it on the end, because it is a bit of a pain sometimes in making sure you're getting the color you intended. Will Chicken be making an appearance? No, Chicken's asleep. We have to keep him in the days covered. We shifted his schedule along with my husband's because my husband right now is having to work from 9 p.m. till 7 a.m. And so in order for him to sleep, the Chicken and Nugget have to both sleep in later. So they stay awake later, but they have to sleep in later. So he has to stay covered because he will scream his head off on the way of me getting him in here and wake up my husband. So no, he won't be making an appearance, which kind of sucks because this would be a medium he could be in here for. We did get these, they were bigger than I thought they would be, but it's a nice like travel size heavy duty cage where he could be in here with the boys or with the greyhounds and I don't have to worry about his safety and he could still hang out. So we will be doing that, but at night most likely. Jody said, any thoughts on the Krylon UV archival varnishes? I used the Krylon for an inktense piece. It worked well. As far between that and then putting it behind UV glass, I've not had it fade yet. I painted that one, I want to say 6 years ago or so. I think it's been about 6 years now. And it hasn't faded, which 6 years in terms of art isn't that long, but it's also encouraging. I mean, I'm glad that it hasn't. So as far as I know, I've heard there are better, like higher quality UV varnishes. I've not used them. That's the one that they had at like Hobby Lobby. And so that's why I got that. Okay. So what I need to do is try to keep the white of the paper white where it needs to be, or where it needs to be light because there's no, oh, there is a white pencil. So I guess we can lighten this one up. Can you tell I haven't used these in a while? I don't even remember what's in the set. So I'm going to go ahead and start, put my hand down here so you guys can see better. Start getting in this darker area. And I'm just working that pencil the direction of the hair. And then I'm going to play with the brushes. Let's see what little brushes I have in here. Let's see. Sergio said, would you apply the big blocks directly on paper? Do you feel like the inktense Graphitint should have a finer texture? I've not tried it, honestly. Here, let's see if it comes out very smooth. They would be really awkward to, I mean, you can see how big that is. Like, that would be hard to control. However, that is dark and really pretty. So I could see the draw there depending on the look you were going for. They blend out smooth and that comes out pretty dark. So I have a harsh line that's not blending, but for the most part, that doesn't look bad. It's a little grainy, but I mean, it's one way to get it dark pretty quickly. You could do it. I don't see myself doing that unless it was something I was working on that was really huge. And I don't typically work huge, so that's going to influence my opinion there. But they're definitely awkward to hold, to control that way. So I'm going to pull this shadow into the ear. Still try to keep those little hairs. I can always add more later if I need to. And the color that I just used there, that one was chestnut. I guess I should mention that on this one, huh? In case any of you are using Graphitint. But the color's not a big deal. Are my darks dark enough? My lights light enough? Now the way that I'm going to get my lighter colors where I want chestnut but lighter, I'm just going to add more water. See, I'm just kind of pulling that out. I'll come back later on and get finer details, but this works as a start. And I'll use what little is on the brush. Actually, I can take the pencil if I want a little bit more. Just pick a little bit off there. Be careful because it can come out pretty dark. There we go, and I'll come back through when this dries and darken up a little bit more. And just as a reminder, if you have a question for me or a comment, make sure to do the @Lachri Fine Art. If the name does not highlight in orange, I just won't see the question. I'm not intending to ignore you, but that's what happens. Casey said, hey, I was just on your Patreon looking for the grape reference photo. Is it no longer accessible? No, it's still there. You just have to scroll down a bit because it's further back, but it should still be there. Do a yellow tang tutorial. I like it. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. I like the idea. I think that's going to happen next week. Now what medium? Okay, so I'm going to take that same pencil and I'm just going to start blocking in, and I'll have to come back through with purples and darker colors, but I'm going to start blocking in where these shadows are going to go. Now watch when you draw animal ears. It's very easy to want to skip over it and just make a dark shadow. Really pay attention to the ear. If you rush through the ear and don't get those little details, it doesn't matter how great the eye is, it doesn't matter how great everything else is, I think it really pulls down the overall piece. So take your time and get that detail in the ear. Watch the direction of the fur there. Why are you panting, Wade? It's not that hot in here. He still has that kennel coat where his fur is too dense. We're working on getting it all out. Oops. Vitalami, I'm sorry for butchering your name. Said, sorry, I meant I've seen pencils advertised as being watercolor and pencils advertised as water soluble. And I was wondering what the difference is. P.S. Very cute alpaca. Thank you. I'm not sure. It depends on who's advertising it that way. I mean, you have watercolor pencils. You have water-soluble graphite. You have inktense. I mean, if it's a water-soluble pencil that has color, it should be one of those mediums, because your oil and wax-based pencils are not going to be water-soluble. They're oil and wax-based. So that's why I use the odorless mineral spirits to do that. But it depends on who's advertising for that. I know, like, is it Neocolor that Karen Dosh makes? Theirs is like a crayon. I've seen people use it. I've never used them myself. But those ones are water soluble, if I remember correctly. I could have that wrong. Someone fact check me if I got that one off. I've never used them, so I'm certainly no expert there. So maybe that's what it was. Because I think they call those a crayon, if I remember correctly. Now I can use the water brush, but here I'm using these smaller brushes to keep a little bit more control than what I'm going to get with that water brush, because this is kind of a small area. Okay, where did that pencil go? I need a little bit more on here. So I'm going to do the same thing, just wipe a little off my brush. There we go. Daniela said, what paper would you recommend for acrylics? I don't recommend paper for acrylics. I recommend canvas, and that I use Frederick's. I only use Frederick's canvases, and just for transparency, I'm sponsored by Frederick's, but they were already the only company that or canvas I used, so that made no difference there for me, but I don't like paper for acrylics at all. If you're gonna use paper, you need to gesso it, but I can't give you a recommendation because I don't like it or recommend it. My shoe is falling off. You care, I know. Oops, that jumped too far. Charlotte said, how many colors do your pencils have? These ones I have, what is this set of? I think it's like 20? I don't remember, 24. You need a sloth. Probably not for a live stream. They're a little complicated with their fur, but I do have photos. I should paint one. They're really cute. I love those guys. Cleopatra said, just want to say a big thank you. I have learned so much, excuse me, already from you. Thank you. Joshua said, I second this loud request. Heather said, I know the Neocolor too are water soluble. I have seen them used like watercolor. So maybe that's what they meant by colored pencil, water soluble colored pencils, maybe. Ransomed Art Kendra said, do they call them crayons, but the texture is almost closer to a wax pencil? Interesting. Sergi said, I just realized, when working in water-soluble media, do you use anything in order to protect your artwork from smudging, touching with your hand? You should, if you're going to sell it. I'm not, so I'm not worried about it. I'm being lazy. But yes, you should always, you always want to keep your hands off the work as much as you possibly can to keep the oils from your skin off that, because the oils of your skin are not pH neutral. So not acid-free or archival. So I would recommend and I would recommend that you use distilled water too. I'm using tap water because, again, I don't really care because I'm not selling this, so we'll just get thrown into a portfolio somewhere. But use distilled water because they have so much crap in our tap water that can make things fade faster. Whenever you're using water-soluble pencils, whether it be graphite, because you could end up having the paper yellow. We don't know. They put all kinds of chemicals in there. Watercolor pencils, inktense, all of that. Distilled water is the way to go. Let's see, where were we? Emily said, you should try a sloth painting. I also love your art so much. Such an inspiration to me. Thank you. And Annery said, hi everyone. Thanks for another stream for my time zone. Gonna enjoy it while crocheting my monster project anyway. Nice. I used to crochet. I was never an expert. That just jumped, sorry. Irritated Paintbrush, I love your name, said, can you paint a rainbow in the next live stream? You told you had an obsession with airbrush, or with rainbows in your childhood. By the way, I love your videos. Thank you. And probably not, because I do that with an airbrush, and I'm not right now doing a bunch of airbrush stuff because not that many people watch me that have airbrush, so it's probably not the best paint-a-log type thing. But I should do a painting of a rainbow. Like, that's a good idea just as a general concept, or general, like, painting. I can't talk. I'm really tired. I'm going on very little sleep right now, so I apologize. And I had to cut back my caffeine, so this is herbal tea. So yeah, sorry guys. Let's see. Krishna said, what is Graphitint, Lisa? It is tinted graphite, water-soluble graphite that's tinted. Nikayla said, I got an offer to show my work internationally in a gallery, but it's got a hefty fee. How do you know if it's worth it? Is it better just to sell locally or online? They would take 40%. If it's just a matter of them taking the commission, great. But more often than not, when people contact you about wanting to sell internationally, it's a scam. It's a way for the gallery to make money. It's not a way for you to make money. And whether or not you get that artwork back, I don't trust any of them. So, I would personally certainly avoid that. I would not trust it at all. There may be a few out there that are okay, but for my general attitude is if you contact me wanting my work in your show, in your gallery, whatever, I'm already that's a huge red flag. If I'm interested in being in a gallery, I'm gonna contact that gallery. So if someone comes to me and says, you know, it's this much to enter to show your work at our contest or whatever, and it's not that competitions, for example, or different shows do have fees, I get that. But when you contact me wanting me to ship my work internationally, no. That's not happening. How am I getting that back? So more often than not, those are scams. I would not trust it. It could be legit. Do your research. Really do your homework on that. I'm using, by the way, the same chestnut. We'll just keep this color going here. So I'm starting to build up his little curls. He's a little emo alpaca with his hair going over his eye. But most of those, I mean, there are so many scams out there of give us money first. Like if you have to dish out money first, not happening. Now, when it comes to if it's just a matter of they take a large commission, 40% is not unreasonable at all. Is that the only thing? Is if it sells, that's where they get their income. If that's the case, that's much more legitimate. But if it's a case where you give them money up front, and then they get the commission? No, not happening. I mean, there's so many factors in that, but yeah, as a general rule, if somebody contacts you, probably not a legitimate. And it happens, but it's kind of rare. Jacqueline said, hi Lisa, thanks for the demos. Should I use inktense or watercolor pencils instead of the Graphitint? Sorry if you answered that already. I just turned the TV on. Either one, honestly, whichever one you're in the mood for. I would say this is probably closer to watercolor, but either one is fine. Jason said, so like usual, not being able to talk. Wait, what? I skipped too much. So like usual, not being able to talk. Oh, yeah. That is usual for me. Painting Violet Sky says, hi, were you using a new wave posh glass palette in a Masterson's for the Wednesday night zebra? I was. Looked like the acrylic stayed workable for the entire live stream without spraying water on them. Yep, I was. And if there's an area that, now it is humid here right now in Texas, so that's definitely gonna help. But the clumps, like where you've got a clump of paint on that new wave glass the clumps of paint with Liquitex Basics anyway do not dry very fast. I find Liquitex Heavy Body and Liquitex Soft Body dry a lot faster even when they're in clumps. But I also, if you look in the video, there's a paper towel. It's soaking wet sitting on the palette, and that just keeps that humidity in there. And then when I put the lid on, like I just threw the lid on, left everything as it was. When I pick it up to paint tonight, all that paint's still gonna be perfectly good. So yeah, that's what I was using. Thank you, Gracie, for the super chat. Your art is beautiful, is very beautiful, Lisa. Thank you. Oh, you give me goosebumps. Ransom Art said, I have to troll a little, but I'm really impressed at the skill involved in reassuming your dog, reassembling? He looks, oh, it must be reassembling your dog. Yes, you're awesome. Love to see you at work. Thank you. Yeah, well, he spilled out of his bed. You can't really see, his head's hanging over the edge. He's mostly in there though. Art Lady said, if you don't know what we're talking about, I post photos all the time on Facebook of my greyhounds, and they're usually laying on their back with their legs up in the air. They look ridiculous and hilarious. Art Lady said, does the Graphitint shift between layers? Could you use inktense with them? You could use inktense with them. Great fun following along. Thank you. Does it shift between layers? Do you mean, does it reactivate? It's not as much as, actually here, let's show you. So this should be dry by now. Let's grab a brush. I haven't used it in so long, I don't remember completely. So it'll lighten a bit, but look how I have to keep scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, and it will start to lighten. Not to the extent that watercolor will, but it's not as permanent as Inktense. It's kind of in the middle of the two. Yeah, Ransom, I swear that's supposed to say you're reassembling. Yep, I figured it out slowly. It took me a minute. Angela said, have you tried the color tint from Spectrum Noir? I have not. Angela said, have you, oh, got that one. Okay, we're good. So let's go back and keep sketching in his fur, still using that chestnut. And a lot of these will have to be darkened up later. Both of them have, both the greyhounds' bodies are in their bed, but their heads are hanging off onto the tile floor with their snoots crooked, and they're making weird noises as they breathe. Breathe? They don't breathe. They're neutered. Breathe. Jason said, are there compliant companies that artists can go to that have contacts with art shows or other companies? There might be. I don't know of any because I'm not one who really, I don't do art shows really anymore. I used to, but I all my time goes into YouTube, which is perfect for me. I don't like to travel, so I can just stay home and draw and make videos. But I'm not sure. What you might want to look into, I had, when I lived in California, there was a art guild. And they put on a show every year, and then people would bring in flyers for other shows that they knew were going on, and those are really good. If you've got one in your neighborhood, that's a really good way to find out about local art shows for sure. I learned about a lot through that one as far as what upcoming shows there were, in addition to the ones that the guild themselves have. And if you're in Southern California, I don't know if they're still there. It was called, I want to say it was Inland Empire Art Association or Art Guild, something like that. It was Inland Empire Art Association. But I like them. They used to have, that's actually what got me started doing critiques. One of my favorite meetings that I went to was, they had a lady, an artist who was a realist. Oh, I missed a call. Why am I missing a call? Hold on. Is this important? Probably not. I don't know where that call came from. Probably spam. I've been getting an abnormal amount lately, the last few days, or few weeks really. But anyway, that art guild or art show, they would have a speaker come in and either do a demonstration. It was usually watercolor, which wasn't of interest to me at the time at all. So I didn't typically go to those, but they had one meeting where they brought in a lady who was a realist artist. And I think that's important. If you're going to have a critique, you want it ideally done by somebody who works in the style that you're interested in. The medium doesn't really matter, the style matters. So she was in realism, and she did a critique where she just went through and talked about everything, you know, that things that could be changed with people's art. Everyone brought in, there must have been 50 people there with paintings, and then she just went down the row and critiqued them one by one. So, and I learned so much. I learned more from, because my critique, when she got to mine, she was just really impressed with, it was a black and white piece, and she really liked the values. So there wasn't much feedback there. I mean, she basically pointed out everything she liked about it, but she didn't really have anything negative. So one of the things that I really liked, though, about that thing was listening to, and this is why I do critiques now, listening to tips that she gave other artists. I learned so much from listening to where the strong points were and then the weak points and all of that. It was so beneficial to me. So that's really what inspired me to start doing my own critiques, because it's like one of my best memories of that art association. Wow, thank you, Lori Ward. You guys are determined to try to make me cry again today, aren't you? For 3 years, you've been my teacher, my inspiration. You brought me laughter and joy when everything else was bleak. Bless you and thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. Oh, my nose is getting runny now. This is your fault. Thank you. Let's see, scroll up. I missed a few here. Gracie said, my question is is if you are a beginner at colored pencil art, as I am, what brands do you recommend for a beginner? Really I like Polychromos, huge fan of Polychromos, huge fan of Derwent Lightfast. Now, to be fair, when you get into something like the Derwent Lightfast, the Caran d'Ache Luminance, they do get very pricey. So what I recommend a beginner do, don't feel like you need to go out and buy a set of 50. You know, or not a set of 50, a set of 150 or 120 or whatever sets, they come with. I think the Derwent Lightfast has a 100 set and a 72 set. You don't need that many pencils when you're getting started. You want to, like here, I've got 24 colors and this is what I'm going to work from. You can use a set of 12 quality pencils and learn more from that than a set of 150 crap pencils. Look at you, Prismacolor. But anyway, get good pencils in a smaller set. This is going to force you to learn to blend and layer to get the colors that you want. I think that it's great. And you're not going to go wrong with, like I said, the Derwent Lightfast I loved, the Polychromos I love. Now, if you go with Polychromos, I do recommend a wax-based white. So Caran d'Ache Luminance white or Derwent Drawing Chinese white is one of your more opaque. Those are going to make your life much easier. But those, get any of those, Caran d'Ache Luminance too, same thing. If you want to get a small set, that quality pencil you're not going to be unhappy with. But I understand a lot of people when they're beginners, they don't want to go out and spend $300 or whatever a set costs. Not all of them are that much. Some of them are $150. So, it just depends on the set. But you don't necessarily want to run out and spend that much. You don't need to. You just need to get a smaller set, but still get quality pencils. The other option, Derwent Pro Color, I believe, aren't terribly expensive. Now, those ones, only about half of them, I don't remember the exact number, are Lightfast. So a little over half, I think, which is not ideal. But they don't cost as much. So that may be an option. The performance of those are wonderful. I really like how Derwent Pro Color worked. I was really, really disappointed because I had used them before I knew, like, they didn't release the Lightfast ratings yet. I just used the pencil, used whatever colors that I wanted for my piece, and then found out that they were not Lightfast. Or, so many of them that I loved weren't. So that was really disappointing. Luckily now with the Derwent Derwent Lightfast pencils, those ones are all Lightfast and they perform to me very, very similar to the Derwent Pro Color. I was really happy with those. Again, any small set of a good pencil, I would say Caran d'Ache Luminance, Faber-Castell Polychromos, or Derwent Lightfast would be like my 3 top brands. Not necessarily in any order. Those are just how it popped into my head. So see how we're just starting to get these sketchy lines, getting in that fur. I don't care if every little fur is, and we're not going to. I mean, if I were to sit here and make everything exact to that reference photo, we're going to be here for 2 weeks. I just need to get the hint of the fur going in about the right direction. He's got super curly fur, so we're just going to kind of get the hint of it in there. Remember, this side here is cast, like he's backlit, so it's super bright back there. I'm gonna keep the pencils away from that area. Let's see, whoops. As you said, Lisa can't see your questions unless, yes, I can't see your questions unless you do the Out Loud Cree Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight in orange, I just don't see it. I apologize. If you can't get it to work, don't worry, I can't either. Ask one of the moderators or somebody else. They can post the question for you. Let's see, greetings from India. Hi, you are watching from a ways away. Thank you for all your lovely videos. You have been a great inspiration to me. That's awesome. Thank you. Angela said, the color tint are kind of the thing, but I find they seem to work well together, increasing your colors. Yes. Charlotte says, are these graphite colors light fast? Do they have, I don't think the light fast ratings are on the tint. I don't remember what they were marked. I'm not sure. I think they were all fairly light fast, but we don't know what they are. Derwent can't tell us if they're still light fast when we add water. We're not really sure there. So I don't know, but you can get the actual light fast ratings for really any of their products if you go to Derwent's website. Oops, that just jumped way too fast. 1 second, scrolling back up. Thank you, Gracie. Oh, the little pear guy. Working out. I don't work out. Actually, I guess that's not totally true with that yard work yesterday. That was one heck of a workout. Casey said, where did you live in Southern California? I used to live down south, but now I live in more central area. Sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. I lived in, I grew up in Claremont, and then I moved to, itching my nose, I moved to Rancho Cucamonga, or Alta Loma, is where I lived before I moved here. I lived there probably longer than I lived in Claremont. Eh, maybe not. Maybe about the same. So San Bernardino, or not in San Bernardino. We were like borderline LA County, San Bernardino, like right on the edge there. Oh my gosh, my itching nose is really going to make me nuts. Okay, must not touch. Jamie said, I love your critiques. Absolutely the same for me. I love listening to all your tips. Thanks. Let's see. So you use water to blend Graphitint? Yes. Love your live streams. Popcorn is the best while I enjoy your drawing process. I'm jealous. I want popcorn. I recently bought an airbrush. Do you have any advice on how to spray fur with it? You're going to use a smaller needle with less pressure on the airbrush, and when you're getting that detail, you're going to hold the airbrush closer to the canvas. Back further is going to be thicker, softer look. When you get up close for that detail, you'll be up close. But a smaller needle, like if I'm doing a lot of little detail, I really like a number 2 if you have that option. If not, I mean, I've used things with a number 3, but I'll go back through. I typically use the airbrush for just getting a hint, or like special effects or getting a soft look, but I combine it with traditional brushwork. So for the fine detail of fur, most of that I would actually end up doing with the paintbrush. It's gonna have to be purple. Oh gosh, my whole face is itching right now. So I'm getting the hint of fur in there. Actually, I'm not gonna worry about sketching in the fur too much. We'll just get the shadows because I'm going to come back later with the pencil and really define a lot of the fur better. Okay, I think I can go ahead and blend some of this. And I think I'm going to use the water brush for some of this blending. Jason said, I have an artist show in town with a lot of different art styles, but COVID-19 killed that. It was over Mother's Day weekend. Yeah, it has really gotten in the way of a lot of shows, like stuff even like Aquashella, like all the fun stuff had to unfortunately be put on hold. I figure it gives us more time to paint, get ready for the next shows. Let's see, Tallulah said, trying Arch's hot press with polychromos for the first time. I can't get more than 4 or 5 layers. It gets a waxy sheen. I can't layer anymore, but it blends out patchy and lifts a lot of colors. You're probably pushing too hard with a pencil. Now the new Fabriano hot press, I do find that I won't need as many layers to get it to really blend out, and it will start to kind of lift and smudge and move around in a way I don't like if I get too much on there. But if it's getting that sheen, you're burnishing. You're pushing too hard with those pencils. That sheen is part of what burnishing is. I mean, you're polishing almost the pencils. So don't push so hard. That should make a big difference for you. Wait, it looks more and more ridiculous. Now his mouth's hanging open as he's heavy breathing with his face shoved into the tile. Tallulah said, especially with the darker colors, I'm used to working with sanded paper and pastel mats, so I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if I should just keep going and trust the process. I'm pretty sure, if I had to guess, that you're pushing too hard. Oh, let's see. Vitilani, that I'm butchering your name and I apologize. You often recommend the Derwent Drawing Chinese White. The Chinese White is a number of Derwent sets. Is the drawing one specifically better and more opaque? Yes, Derwent Drawing Chinese White is the one I recommend. Jason Ellis said, so it's Derwent Drawing. Drawing is the set. Chinese White is the color. Jason said, I plan to do my thumbnails with cheap supplies and the prices that are going to be sold, the better supplies will be used. Yep, that, or pieces. I can't read apparently. That's a good idea. Thank you, Gracie. Gracie, she said, you're an amazing artist, Lisa. Thank you so much. Missy said, just saying hi, how are your broken dogs today? Extra broken. Both of them have their snoots shoved up against the tile floor because, you know, apparently the cushiony bed that their body is in it has plenty of room for them. They just don't seem to think so. They're dorks. Passion Artist Play said, I have seen that they have come out with a pen set for the Graphitint. I'm not sure if they are available yet, but I've seen them on their site. The metallic ones have pans now. Ooh, I don't have the metallic ones. That's cool. I love that they constantly come out with more stuff. Gracie said, I am really struggling with my watercolor paints and recently took up acrylics. Can you work with them both on a painting? I don't know why you would. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't know why you would. If you do, you would want to do, I guess, the watercolor first. I don't see any real benefit. I mean, probably do the watercolor first, but I would just learn to use them both individually. That's kind of an odd combination for a mixed media. I can't think of a reason why I would want to mix those two. I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe there is a reason. I'm just not thinking of it off the top of my head. So I'm going to smudge that in. We'll start getting that tan in there. Can you guys hear him? It sounds like he's trying to breathe through like a tube. I am going to use the extra large blocks. I think that's about the same color. Wait, maybe I just need to rinse my brush first. No, not that one. Nope, not that one. Okay, those aren't the same. Back to the pencils then. I want to keep using that same color as my base. So I'm just going to kind of hold this to the side and sketch this in here so I can spread it out a bit. Smudge that out. These dissolve really nicely. So starting to get those shadows on that part of his face. I'm going to dry this. Start building in some of the purples. We'll start getting these darks in here. I'll also get his eye blocked in. Missy said, just saying hi. How? Okay, got that one. Got that one. Sarah said, how would you add warmth to someone's skin for a portrait without making it look yellow? So yellow is not the only color for warmth. It could be raw sienna. It could be, I mean, it depends on the person and the other colors used and all kinds of things. But don't think of warmth meaning yellow. That's not the only meaning of warmth. You can have warm blues. You can have warm purples. You can have warm in any color. It's just the way I look at it, or the way that I call it, and people will argue on what warm means in that, but the closer to yellow on the color wheel, that color would be. So you could warm something up with me, probably using warmer oranges and reds. to as glazes. It would be, so it doesn't look orange or red, but I'd probably do that as a glaze. That should work, but thinned out, like thin layers, so it blends in with what your other colors are, and that should warm it up. Whisker said, due to the current situation, do you think there is or will be a pencil shortage? I'm having a hard time getting certain colors. I've heard that. I hope that there's not. I don't know. I hope we're starting to get back to things getting going again. You know, I think everyone's gotten the hang of social distancing, and so, you know, we can social distance at work. We've got used to social distancing at the grocery store, so I'm hoping that a lot of businesses are able to safely open where they can. I need that to be a lot darker. So that was the purple. I'm gonna add some black, or was this called purple or aubergine? Add some black in that. Okay, the breathing heavy is getting weird. Wait, wake up. Wait. Oh. I don't think you guys can see his whole tongue is sticking out of the side of his head. Yeah, reposition yourself. There you go. So right now this is really fuzzy looking. I will define it better once this layer dries. Really, we should have had a whole shadow up here too that I missed a bit more. Let's just block that in. Taru said, can we use water-soluble graphite with Graphitint? Thank you for sharing, or thank you for answering so patiently. Yeah, you can, that would be a really good mixed media for sure. Because they're both water-soluble graphite. One's just tinted. But absolutely. Charlotte said, Lisa, I have like you used Fabriano Artistico when using colored pencils, but I'm not happy with it anymore. Can you recommend a paper instead of Fabriano? I've moved to Arch's hot press watercolor paper. I've been very happy with them. That's my current recommendation. I also really like Hands and Me Tans. Jessica said, hi, I love your art channel. Thank you. I am new in colored pencils, and you mentioned not to touch the paper for the oils. I have Canson tracing paper to protect the art from my oils. Thank you. That's what I used for years, and it's better than nothing, but even better than that would be a product called Glassine. It's like it feels like a wax paper, but it's acid-free, pH neutral, and nothing will stick to it. So let's say your colored pencil, like a little piece that you sharpened, got under the paper. If it's under the paper of the tracing paper and you move the tracing paper, it can stick to it and leave a smudge. Glassine, it won't stick to it. The other thing is the glassine is thicker, like it's a waxy thing. So your hand, technically with the tracing paper, depending, like some people who have really oily skin could soak through the tracing paper and still end up on the artwork. But I mean, I used it for years. It's definitely better than nothing. Anything is better than nothing, but glassine would be my main recommendation. Jessica said, hi, I got that one. Where were we? Hi, Paulo. Illusioniste said, thoughts on Esconda synthetic brushes. Jackson sells them so much cheaper than here in the States. I have no idea there. I've never used them, so I can't give you any thoughts other than I don't know. Stacy said, watching from work. Don't tell the boss. So Stacy's one of my best friends. She's supposed to be working. Totally telling the boss. That's funny. Stacey's the one who went with me to Aquashella in Chicago. She came and picked me up from the airport, and that was not a fun airport to drive through. Kind of makes her a saint. So I'll start getting these shadows, and I'm using that aubergine to block in the shadows. And I'll come back through and define the little hairs. We'll just get some sketchy marks for that. But for now, I just want to get this blocked in. I'm going to mix that a little bit with that chestnut, especially around the edges here, which you can't really tell, but once we blend, it should be pretty obvious that those two are different. Let's see. Sarah said, I was doing a portrait and the skin needed a warm tone. I used yellow, and even though I mixed it with purple, it looked too extreme. I redid it with mostly red and a hint of yellow. Yeah, just don't think warm means yellow, because it doesn't. Definitely does. You can have cool yellows. I mean, it definitely, that's not, it's kind of like when people think that all shadows would be black. Well, no, purples and blues, you've got other colors in there. So just keep that in mind. Yellow is not, when someone talks about making something warm, that doesn't always mean yellow. And in a portrait, usually not a color that's a color I typically avoid for portraits. Joshua said, I highly recommend the Derwent Lightfast paper. It's 140-pound hot press. It works great. They also make inktense paper. I need to check those out. That's good to hear that you like them, though. Let's see. I see a lot of animal artworks on this channel, and I love every single one of them, but I always wonder, do you not like the portraits? I have portraits, too. For some reason, YouTube's just suggesting animals. I mean, I prefer animals over people, but no, I do people too. Gracie said, my question is, when you first start off in acrylics, do you start the background first or paint it after you've painted the other areas? I'm a newbie to acrylics. So for me, it's always whatever's farthest in the back and I work my way forward. Not all artists work that way. Depends on how you want to work. But what I would suggest, I have a video. I think it's titled Your First Acrylic Painting. It's a fish, a saltwater fish. And that one really walks you through the way that I layer it. That one I think is a good place for you to start. Charlotte said, what paper are you using today? I am using Arches hot press watercolor paper. I know I described that wrong in the description. This one is Arches. I couldn't find my Fabriano. Maybe I'm actually running out finally. Sergio said, how's it going with Wade's coat? Still molting? Yeah, he's all patchy. We're working on it. It's getting there. He's almost turning into a greyhound. I'm throwing things on the floor. Thank you, Jessica, for the super chat. You're so sweet. And Gracie, too. Gracie said, you're a very talented artist. Thank you, Gracie. You guys are so sweet. Annette Hill said, just wondering if you can advise the best air pressure for the air gun. It varies depending on what it is you're trying to do, how close the airbrush is, the type of paint you're using. There's too many factors. You've just got to practice with it and play around with what's comfortable and giving you the results you want. I don't even know. I can't even see mine because it's on the floor. I have no idea what mine's typically set at. You just have to experiment with it. If it's coming out too hard, obviously, turn it down. If you're not getting enough air, turn it up. I mean, it sounds too not helpful for you, but that's really what you want to do. Jason said, Chicago Airport is a hub and very big. It sucks because of the space. Yeah, that one's an awkward one. Like even walking underground and just to get out of the airport, oh my gosh, not a fan. Of course, I have bad memories of that place because the first time I visited Chicago was with friends back like, gosh, 13, 14 years ago, a long time ago. But I ripped... This is gonna gross people out. But when we were at the hotel, I hit my nail on the bed was weird on we were getting ready to leave and it ripped my toenail off. And so when I went through the airport that day, oh my God, I was in so much pain walking around, like so much pain. So I don't have the best memories of that place anyway, but too many people and too big for sure. So this is that aubergine again, which is really just purple. Starting to get some of these shadows in there. We've got some shadows in his little ear. Now, still, when you're doing this, pay attention to where the hairs are going. They shift and change direction. Really watch that. Don't just like fill it in solid. Just kind of blocking in, where are my darker areas? Starting to get a general idea of those now. Jason says, ouch. Yeah, it was a big ouch. Like, it still makes me cringe to think about. Oh, it was a fun trip until that. And then I was so tired when I finally got home. I had a layover in Texas. This is when I still lived in California. And so my friend took me to her house and I'm hobbling around, had a layover in Texas, and then she dropped me back off after we ate at her house, dropped me off at the airport. And when I finally got onto the plane, there was a guy who had no real sense of his own size. And so I'm on the end. I've clearly got a foot all wrapped up. I'm hanging off the side there until people would come by and I tuck myself in. This guy comes in and I somehow had butt and front in my face all at the same time. And he was shoving himself. He didn't tell me he was coming in. He just kind of walked in and started shoving in front of me. Whereas normally people are like, oh, excuse me, that's my chair. And then you'd get up and let them in. No. And so I'm looking and he kept doing it. And then he'd get up and the same thing. And so, everything was in my face, front and back. And it was the most awkward thing. Then he had to take off his jacket. And same thing. He had to get out, but he wasn't asking me or telling me when he was going to do it. He'd just be up and in my face again. And I'm looking back, like hanging over the side. I look back in the plane. Everyone is laughing at this whole, it was the most, what is this man doing? Oh my gosh, it was so awkward and uncomfortable. And so I was so excited just to get home and take a bath and get off my feet. I come home and my husband we had a cat at the time and he had locked her in the bedroom and she didn't have access to her litter box. And so she had gone on the bedding and that meant I had to I couldn't just take my bath. I had to clean that up because my husband doesn't do, at the time, he never did laundry. He didn't even know how to work the machine at the time. Now he does his own. But back then, oh my gosh, that whole trip, it was just one thing after another after another. I can laugh about it now. Thank you, Whiskers, for the super chat. You're so sweet. Thank you, I can never say that right. I'm sorry, Krishna. Thank you. Said, I just love your work. You're such a great artist. Thank you so much. Where were we? Stacy said she had to drive around 3 times before actually finding where I was standing. That I was so lucky. I have such an awesome friend. I know. And then you had to carry things for me. And I just put you to work. Jinxie said, sorry if this has been asked, but what is the difference between Graphitint and watercolor pencils? These are water-soluble tinted graphite. Watercolor pencils are watercolor in a pencil form, also water-soluble, but it's a completely different medium, both in pencil form, so they kind of look the same, but it's kind of like oil paint versus acrylic paint. They're both paint, but it's not the same medium. Let's see. Avilo, I apologize for butchering your name. I can't talk. Butchering. Said, glad I caught the live stream. Are you working from your own reference? I am. I took this reference photo back in, I want to say January. You can find it if you want it. If you go to patreon.com/Lachri, you don't need to be a member. It's free for everybody for this photo. Just go over there and I've got it listed there. Let's see. Sydney said, hi Lisa, I wanted to start a business and I wanted to, excuse me, to know if you have any ideas on what paintings sell the most. Abstract for house decor, mainstream images, portrait, landscape. It depends on where you're going to sell them. So if you go to a gallery, they have better luck selling impressionism, abstract, stuff like that, artsy stuff, I guess. Whereas online, realism does better. It just depends. But honestly, the biggest thing there is you want to do what you're passionate about, what you like. No, if you like both and you want to do both, that's fine. But don't try to do a certain style of art because you think it's popular. It shows in your work. You want to do what you're interested in. It'll make a really big difference in what your final result is. Where were we? Boeing said, any preferences for what project to do with Graphitints? Are they especially great with specific style or technique? I usually go for stuff that I want a faded look to. Kind of a faded, not super saturated look is what I like them for. I think they would work well for portraits too. You're going to get a kind of unique look though, because you are limited by the colors, which gives you, like I said, it's unique, it's cool. Ziga said, hi Lisa, do you have any pet peeves regarding art communities? I hate when other artists discredit you and your art because you do not do the same thing as them. Oh, definitely. One of the other ones was the attitude that if you didn't go to art school, that you weren't going to be very good. So I went, when I was in that I told you about the Inland Empire, the Art Association, I was probably, I don't know, early, mid-20s at the time. And I had always looked a lot younger than I actually was. So here's this girl with bright red, because I was coloring my hair, obviously. It was not stop sign color naturally, but stop sign color, like red hair. And the bleach in the front. And I go in there. I'm clearly younger by a lot than anyone else was in there. So this woman sits next to me and she's being friendly and starts talking to me on the break. And she's like, she's asking, what is this now? I'm pulling in porch. So it's kind of a burgundy color. She starts asking me about my art and what I do, and I had told her. And this is before cell phones, or I think I had a cell phone, but not, you know, smartphones. I didn't have photos that I could like show her what I had done. At the time I was specializing, like really just marine life was all marine life, and I was starting to mess with portraits. But she's asking, you know, where did I go to school? And I said, oh, I didn't go to school. I'm self-taught. Oh my God, this woman lectured me. And I just sat there smiling like, okay, well, maybe she's really good. Maybe she really knows what she's talking about. And how basically if you are a self-taught artist, your work is crap. And there's no way you'll ever be good, and you need to go to school and blah. I mean, this woman went on and on and on. And I just kind of was like, okay, just smile and listen, whatever. So at the end of the thing, they had a thing at the end of the meeting where certain people brought in artwork that was with the theme. And the theme that week were beaches or oceans or something like that. So I'm going to be more critical anyway, because that's what I excelled in. And she stands up. They had an artwork that I had seen, and I was like, wow, that's a seascape, but it's so poorly done. Like, it looks like a kid did it. Like, it really isn't very good. I didn't say that to anybody, of course, but that was my thought. Like, it was not impressive. When they had the artist stand up to do it, it was the woman who was bashing me for being self-taught. And I'm looking at hers going, who's self-taught now? Like, being self-taught clearly was no indication of your skill level in this case. But that's definitely a pet peeve, where people have this attitude that if you use certain tools or techniques that you're lesser than other artists. Like, it's art. Use whatever you want. Like, that's ridiculous. So yeah, I would say that's mine. Thanks, Gracie. Gracie said, thank you, Lisa, for your great art tutorials. Thank you so much. Gail said, my son just bought a Posh airbrush compressor, and the outlet plug is not US friendly. Oh no, we have searched for an adapter with no luck. Any advice on where we might find one? That I have no idea on. I'm sorry. I don't have a clue. Sarah said, you talk a lot about going to our target market. My question is, who is our target market if we paint more than one subject, i.e. both people and pet portraits? Well, you've got two target markets then that you're going for. You've got to figure out where the people who want people portraits are going to be, and people who with the pet portraits. You're not necessarily looking for both in the same thing. You've now got two different target markets that you're really going after there. Thanks again, Gracie. Joshua said, I went to art school. The only impact it had on me was it taught me how long I would be paying for it. So gosh, and that is painfully true. I mean, the artists that I know who went to art school were fabulous artists to start with. Or I've known of artists who weren't very good and college didn't improve on that. You know, it just, if you've got the money, if you have the expendable income, great. I just don't recommend artists, put themselves in debt to do it. Because then you're starting your business. When you get out of school, you're starting already in debt, which definitely makes things harder. Oh, here, I'll use the water brush will work for this. So let's start shading in here. I'm just kind of smudging that out because things are mostly blocked out where everything is going to go. So I don't have to be super precise. Now I don't want to just randomly start smudging the brush everywhere. I do want to keep this approximately where the shadows and highlights need to be. So don't go too crazy. I mean, it might seem easier to use a large paintbrush and just smudge over everything to blend, but the problem is you'll blend all of the purple and all of the reddish brown together at once, and you won't have any difference between the lights and the darks. Wade's breathing heavy back there again. Yep, his face fell off the bed. Such a derp. Sweetest dog ever, but he's not one you really look at and go, you're a smart dog. He's definitely one of those, oh, you're so sweet. It's a good thing you're sweet. Okay, I'm gonna just smudge some of this up in here so it's not straight white. Still light, but not that white. Okay, we're going to dry this. Let's see. Why we almost not see you use water-soluble pencil, water-soluble like Graphitint in general. Almost not see. I guess you mean why don't I use it very often? My two most popular mediums are colored pencil and acrylics, and so that is where that's what most people want in my tutorials. So I'm generally trying to do at least one of each of those a month, and sometimes like the one I'm working on right now with the zebra, I don't know if you can't see it, he's behind me. That one is going to be a 3-parter, so they get dragged on, and then the water-soluble media kind of gets fit in between those. Angela said, my pet peeve is, oh, you're an artist. It must be good not to have a job. Yeah, my mother-in-law still to this day does not think I have a real job. Lacey, can you do this alpaca with Derwent tinted charcoal? I've never used it. I have tinted charcoal. Well, I have the charcoal blocks. Well, I do it probably not because I don't work in charcoal much. That it freaks me out, the dryness on my hands. Although I kind of want to play with those because I think those are supposed to be water soluble. Maybe I'll try that. So maybe not the same alpaca you can. If you mean like in general, absolutely. Brittany said, I went to art school and it's great if you have many scholarships. It's really great to be in an artistic community and have access to critiques, but it's not necessary to be good. Yeah, that's actually a really good way to word that. Okay, let's start darkening this up some more. So one of the things I found with the Graphitint, they don't get quite, like the pigment is not going to get quite as dark as it would with any other medium, pretty much. Let me drag the water closer. Start getting those dark bits in, as dark as I can get them. Casey said, thank you for the suggestion about the canvas drop cloth. Ordered it on Wednesday and it already came in nice. Just really blocking in these darks now. And I'm going to start going through this a bit faster or we're going to be here all day. Gonna use that black for some of the deeper shadows, just a little bit here and there. Now watch how the curls, they form in these clumps and clusters, and we want to capture that. Maxine said, I have a 12 of Derwent tinted charcoal pencils. Nice. Charcoal's awesome. It is an awesome medium. I'm weird and neurotic about dry things being on my hands, and it freaks me out is the thing with me. It's a me issue. Sylvester said, if I said hi, would you say hi back? Probably not. Just kidding, hi. Gail said, it's been a while since we've had to name one of, or we've named one of your paintings. May I name this guy Emo? Absolutely. Rhonda said, when you wet these, does it set under layers? Do they reactivate? A little, but not much. Like very, very little. They're not as permanent as like the inktense, but they also don't lift quite the same the watercolor. If you keep reworking an area long enough, it will. A little, but not quite like a watercolor pencil would. Bad said, I have been looking into buying colored pencils lately. The prices for sets have jumped $10 to $20. Ouch. You know, and I see that anyway, especially like on Amazon. What I like to do is, well, there's two things I like to do. One is there's a website called Camel, and you can put the URL for the item, and you can see how the prices change. And so if there's something I'm interested in, I'm like, ooh, that's expensive. I'll look on that website and find out if that price ever fluctuates or fluctuates very often. And then I'll wait. If it does, I put it in my wish list and I just wait until the price drops again, because it inevitably always will. But yeah, sometimes on Amazon especially, you'll see some pretty serious fluctuations of the prices. Like the pencils, the Caran d'Ache watercolor pencils I got the wood set, and right after I got it, it went up by like $40. I mean, it was a big jump, and then it jumped again. And then at one point it was up to like, cause it was individual sellers. God, it went up to like $300 more. And then it dropped, which is ridiculous to pay that much. And then it dropped back down, but it was all over the place. Cindy said, you are so talented. I love that you take your own photos. Thank you. What kind of camera do you have? I have a Canon 6D, 6D, with multiple lenses. That's my main one for taking photos. And then I have an M50, a Canon M50 that I'm using now for videos. But I definitely prefer my 6D for photos. It's a full frame, has a full frame lens, and it's wonderful. It does great in low light, which is a big deal for me. Like that, I love that thing. It makes some of those photos come out well enough that it looks like I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I am no photographer, but the camera makes up for it. Rhonda said, where do you sell these pieces? I sell them normally, if I sell them, they're on my website, Lachri.com, and I do need to update them. This won't be for sale with the Graphitint because I can't get a definite answer. Like no one really knows if they're going to be light fast long term. That's kind of a concern for me. So I don't sell them. These ones, this one will just end up, I'm just going to shade here. Let's get some of these shadows in there. I will end up just putting this in my sketchbook. Typically, like with inktense or watercolor pencils, if I'm not sure once water's added how light fast they're going to be, I believe these have decent light fast ratings. Dry, when they're wet though, Derwent really didn't know, because they didn't test for it, if that adjusted the light fast ratings or not. In theory, it shouldn't, but because we don't know, I don't actually sell the originals of these. My acrylics and oils and colored pencils, those get sold on my website. So just blocking in now. I'm going to shade in. I just want to get the contrast in there. Now that I've got this in there, I'm also going to pull in a little bit more, darken that up a bit so I can start coming through with the pencils and getting the little hairs. Now, this is what's underneath is dry. So I'm going to be a bit messy. I'm going to use a larger brush. So earlier I talked about don't just use a large brush and go everywhere at all, mix together. That's because I had too many different colors. Here, I really only have the two colors. They can mix together. It's not going to make a big difference. Let's see. Sylvester Star said, you have a cute dog. What is your dog's name? I have Wade and Gibson are their names. And I also have Jessie and Echo are my Italian Greyhounds. They're in the other room. Nancy said, I've gotten emails through my website that seem like scams, like wanting discounts, offering thousands of dollars for a painting with very bad grammar. Has this happened to you? Oh, all the time. I get that all the time. I also get people wanting me to promote their work, or their products, which isn't necessarily a scam, but that's probably what I get more often than anything now. It's just crap products that I'm not promoting. I don't care what you're paying me. I'm not recommending a product I don't think is decent. But yeah, those scam ones, I think we all get those. It's unfortunate too, because a lot of artists, I feel bad for them. People will occasionally come in the art group and they're all excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in a gallery. And it's like, no, you're not. I'm sorry, but no, that is not what's about to happen to you. You're just about to be disappointed, which sucks. So now that I've blocked everything mostly in, we can come through, get these shadows in there, and then we'll come in and draw all the little cute hairs. Sneak said, Colt Pencils is a great place to buy pencils. I've not looked into them. Where are they located? So you can still see all those lines and little sketches. I kind of smudged them up some, but we're close enough. This actually should be shaded a bit more too. Okay. Now is the part, my favorite part, where we start making him look cute. Okay, now for the fun parts. So let's again, now I'm going to start pushing harder on areas I want to be really dark. I'm using the aubergine for his eye. I'm going to let this be a little sketchy. I'm not trying to make this look like a photograph. Not in a 2-hour live stream. A little bit of shading in there. Got some hairs in there, and I'm using the aubergine here. Pull this up a bit. Let's see. What do you mean make him look cute? He already is. Oh, thank you. Make him cuter. We'll start giving him some definition. So here, this one is Port. It's kind of a burgundy color. Now you can come through and blend, but if you blend at this point, I'm just going to do little hairs. I don't want to make a big smudgy mess. We've got the general shading in. I want to leave these little hairs showing. Thank you, Tallulah, for the super chat. Thank you for all your help, Lisa. You're welcome. Thanks for joining today. We also have... Hold on 1 second. This is not updating for some reason, and I can't see what is happening there. Okay. Okay. Hopefully the chat is updating. The part of this is not updating, and I can't see what's going on my... This happened on Wednesday too. Go. Oh, let's get the aubergine in here, really darken up around his mouth. Start defining stuff. So I am pushing a bit harder. You don't want to push too hard or they will break the pencils. These ones are not super brittle, but they will break. Switch over to Port for the shadow right under the face here. See how I'm getting the little hairs? You want to look at your reference photo, how these clump and cluster together. We want to capture that. Now, whenever possible, you may look at something and go, okay, it's black, but the black is kind of a dull, flat color. That aubergine is really going to give you a deeper color, especially if you got black under it, like I do here under the nose. I have to push a little harder to make that happen. Actually, what I'll probably do with this one of my friends loves llamas and alpacas. I'll probably just give this one to her. Because I don't care, you know, it's just a little gift for her to put on her wall, so it's not like she's out anything if it fades. Have I ever worked with water-soluble markers? The only ones that I use that I like are the Winsor & Newton. And those ones, you can use water to blend with them, which is amazing. But water, or they have their own blending pencils. I really like those. Huge fan of those. But other than that, I've never really liked markers until those. But those markers allow me to paint. I feel like I'm almost oil painting, but with markers. I also used, who was it? I want to say Pablo. There was a oil marker that I used in a Smart Art box. I really enjoyed those. So I guess there were 2 times I've used markers that I liked. See if that white will show up very well. Oops. Dennis said, if Prismacolor decides to improve their pencils and their quality control issues, will you go back to using them again? I would definitely add them to my list. If they were, light fast and the quality issue came back, I would definitely consider them. I mean, and I'd say that's true with most brands. If they started producing something of quality, I mean, like the Holbein, you've heard my complaints about the Holbein colored pencils. If that changes, I will definitely, I'm open to changing my attitude on some of these. But the thing that gets me I would be surprised, like new people would have to take over the part that's doing Prismacolor. My thing is Prismacolor, like I have a hard time trusting them because they haven't cared about producing quality work or quality pencils for so long, that there's definitely almost like a lack of trust there in the company producing something that I would feel comfortable using on work that I was going to sell for a lot of money. My colored pencil pieces are fairly expensive because they're so time consuming. So I'm very picky about what company I trust using with those. White shows up pretty well. Let's get a few little hairs in here. Jamie said, glad your suggestion to start with the portraits of a piece don't really excite me. Glad for your suggestion to start with the portions of a piece that don't really excite me. I did not read that right. Helped me out in getting work done. You started on the cuteness, reminded me. Yeah, get those parts out of the way. Otherwise, you tend to like ears. Ears and noses are not my favorites, and I will usually start with them because otherwise I end up rushing over things because I just want to have done it out of the way. So I like to do those first. Now here, I'm just getting a hint of where the fur goes. I had mentioned before, I'm not going to sit there and try to make it look exact. That's not going to happen in a 2-hour stream, but we can still capture the hint of how that fur moves and clumps together. And that's what we want to do here. And if you want to make something look like a photograph, you absolutely could do that with this. And you guys have rights to use this photo in your own work to sell, make prints, whatever you want. But you want to, you'd want to spend a lot more time than what we have on a 2-hour stream. 2-hour stream will create something cute, but not overly realistic. See, I'm starting to get that hint of fur in there. Watch the direction. So even though we're not making it super, super accurate, we still want to watch the direction of the fur and make sure we're capturing that. Actually, I grabbed the right pencil. I used black there for a second. That is not what I would have wanted. And watch how the fur clumps and clusters together. It's not random confetti lines. You don't just want to put random lines everywhere or it doesn't look like fur. Watch how they clump. Come out here to this ear. Let's get that fur in there. Oh, that just jumped way too far. Thank you, Mouse Potato, for the super chat. That's so sweet. Here we go. Rhonda said, when you're selling, which payment methods do you offer? Seems as soon as I got PayPal, I had to get Venmo, and now Sellers and Google Play. Honestly, most people, I use PayPal for most because people have it. I stopped with PayPal. I had an issue with, they really screwed up a while back, and I think my website might still be Square because I got mad at PayPal and said, forget you, I won't even use that now. I don't remember if I changed it back or not. But I had an issue with PayPal where somebody was selling, had copyrighted my work. They were taking my work off my website and selling it on quilts or claiming to sell it. From what I understand, no one would even get the stuff after they paid for it. So they're using my work and other artists for, I think they had one of my Chinese crested paintings. And then I think they had Italian greyhounds too. But they were taking my work and selling it on their website, and they used PayPal on their site. So I contacted PayPal, and since you can't contact the website, it was on, I turned them into Facebook, but then I contacted PayPal because they do have a law on that. Like they are illegally selling my work. So I contacted PayPal, and PayPal screwed something up and blocked me and my ability to use PayPal. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So I had to call, it was a whole thing. They screwed up and they recognized that. They basically blocked both of us instead of just that person. And they apologized, but it was like, ooh, I don't trust you so much right now. So they did fix it. So I don't remember if I went back to that. So I did use PayPal at Aquashella. I also used Stripe at the other Aquashella because PayPal, the Aquashell in Dallas, everyone's PayPal was not connecting. Like it was just this ongoing problem that day. So I had started using my Stripe and that worked real well. But yeah, Stripe and PayPal are the two that I use. You don't need to use every possible payment source out there. Realistically, most people they have PayPal, they can pay you with PayPal. I kind of choose whatever one is the main, whatever's most people are going to have access to and use that. It's not something, and I mean, it's kind of the same advice I would give for somebody with social media. You don't have to be on every social media platform. Pick a few and then, that's enough. And with yours, maybe having Stripe and PayPal in my case, if somebody was like, I don't want anything to do with PayPal, even though with PayPal, it's just their credit card. So that you don't even have to have a PayPal account to pay with PayPal. But, I mean, it can be helpful to have two in case you do have somebody who's absolutely hating one of the services or the other. But I don't feel like I need to be on every single payment platform. If someone wants my work, they can pay on one of the ones that I already have. Thanks, Mouse Potato. Jason said, is the space around the figure for fur expansion? Well, this is his fur. That it's hitting its backlit. I just haven't put details in there yet. Mouse Potato said, just saying thanks for all your tutorials and helping artists out. You rock, Lisa. Thank you so much. George said, how important is matte color and frame color and style when someone asks you about framing options? I don't frame things for people almost ever, unless I have something that I had framed for a show and I'm selling it with that frame. I don't offer different options. I don't do it. Like, you can buy the work and you go have it framed, because I don't want to ship the frame anyway, because the frame is more likely to get damaged in shipping than the artwork anyway, or even damage the artwork. So I personally don't get involved really with that, and it does make a big difference. So what I recommend people do, send the artwork to them and tell them, take it to the framer, take the artwork to the frame, and test it with different mats and different frames to see what's going to look good. Because just because a frame is pretty doesn't mean it's going to be the best choice for that artwork. Okay, we're gonna start getting some of these deeper shadows in here for his little curls. See how I'm clumping these together? Whoops, that just jumped. Thank you, Jamie, for the super chat. Thank you. Have an awesome weekend. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Janet said, do you varnish your watercolor paintings the same as you would with your acrylic paintings? I do not. If I'm going to put anything over, and now I've not put any varnish on my watercolor pieces because I'm not sure how that's going to react when you put a spray over it. You definitely want to test it on a sample before you spray the work. I have used a varnish, a UV protecting spray over my inktense, and that worked well. I used Krylon, and that worked fine. But watercolor, I've not sprayed anything on that. It really... Unless you're going because you're using a UV spray, like just as a varnish, it's going to be behind glass, so I don't really worry about that. Now we're getting to a point where I am going to start just looking at what would be cuter for mine, because like you know, we deviated pretty far from the photo on some of this. So we've got to figure out what will make ours look cuter. The photo is there as a guideline. Don't feel like you're married to it and that's the, you know, you have to super stick to that photo. You don't. That photo is just a guideline to give you an idea of how the fur should move, where the eye's located, all of that stuff. But you can change it. You're an artist. If you want to change something because you think it'll look better, do it. I'm pushing pretty hard on this white to get it to show up. These technically would be more of a tan, but for the purpose of this, we are using white because it's the only opaque one I have. You've got a little bit of a darker area in here. Whoops, that scrolled too far. Sally said, that is so giving of you to give us the ability to sell our renderings of this. We thank you and hope your gifts are multiplied exponentially in return to you. Thank you so much. Owens Art said, I missed the paper you're using for today's work. What is it? It is the Arches Hot Press Watercolor paper. Sylvester, I keep saying Sylvester, Silver Star, too bad I can't read, says, no, you have you have to marry the photo. No. It's an open relationship. So start really working on making his little hairs, which direction they're going. Again, if yours are a little off, it's okay. Give him some curly hair, his little emo hair. This guy was getting so much food from kids that day. It was more of a children's type place that we went to. He's definitely not really emo. He just has the look. Pull that shadow down a bit here. That's a bit harsh. So one of two things I can do. One, I can erase it. That'll tone it down some. There we go. And then you can, or just thin it out with the water. Kelly said, Lisa, your dogs have a hard life. Yeah. You can't see Gibson right now. He's on his back. Legs are in the air. I was out. I took photos of it. It was actually pretty funny. I'm just going to blend a little bit of this just to darken it up. When I was laying the sod yesterday, the first piece I got down, it was a big mat. Gibson went and laid on it like it was a brand new bed. He was like, I'm not moving. This is my spot now. Their idea of helping me lay the sod was not helpful. Let's pull some of the hairs in here now. I just wanted to make sure I left most of that really light. I really like these pencils for getting a really sketchy look where you're not trying to make everything perfect. It's just fun. I like the looseness of them. And I mean, I know you can do that with other mediums too, but there's something about this medium that I don't know, it just goes hand in hand for me. got a little crazy there. Get a little hint of purple. Barely gonna let that pencil touch. You're just going to keep looking at that reference photo. And the main thing I'm looking at, where are my major lights and darks? Because that's really what I care about. Nick said, Missy Tammy asks, how are you taping your watercolor paper to the easel? So this is a drawing board. It's just a big, I want to say it's like a 18 by 24, maybe? I don't know, something like that. Maybe a bit bigger. But it's a drawing board. You can get these at any art supply store. And I'm using masking tape. Now, if I were going to be selling this and I actually care about keeping things archival, I would use my black pH neutral masking tape to tape things down. But this is just your cheapy stuff from the hardware store because I'm not using my good materials on this. Okay. Let's chunk up some of these little curls in here. So I'm really looking at that reference photo now. Where are the light areas? Let's get some of those mixed in. So he looks like he has curly hair fur. But again, remember, little not confetti lines. Look at how they clump. And I am not going to blend out the white. It doesn't stay, it goes more translucent when you blend it out. So let's see, let's just lighten this area here. Kind of a cartoony little guy here. Sarah said, another amazing live stream. Thank you. Thank you. Silver Star, hey, I read it right that time. Said, do you ever do gore art? Nope. I mean, I did a pumpkin that was kind of, you know, he had smoke coming out of him, but I'm not into the gore stuff. I am too, I'm a pansy. Take that aubergine, get some more of these shadows in here. And I think these pencils do have the ability to do more realism. If you are looking for that, they can do it. You're just, again, going to have that unique color scheme. Where did that port go? Port is what I want. Kristen said, we had a pet llama growing up. They're crazy animals. They're so cute, though. Gail said, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but joining these live streams has lowered my blood pressure, which is a big deal. I appreciate you so much. That is awesome to hear, Gail. I'm so glad. The size on this paper, it's smaller than an 8 by 10, bigger than a 5 by 7. I don't have a roll over here. I don't even know what size. I just ripped a piece and was like, yeah, good enough. 1 second. Let me make sure this isn't anything. Nope. My Chewy order has shipped. The dogs will be glad. They will have food. Well, they'll have the vegetable part of their food. I still have to go pick up the meat. You guys care. I know. It's super important. Well, it's important to them. Let's give him just a little bit of a gloss on his eye. Let's see if that white will even show up. It may not. Nick said it's a poodle goat. Yeah, that is actually, yes, it is. Is it bad that I want to live on a farm just so I can have goats? They're so cute. I've never lived with a goat, so I don't know if it's as amazing sounding as I think it is. Okay, that isn't coming up. Let's try erasing. It's an ink eraser. So it's going to have the ability to lift more than your normal eraser. Sometimes, if you can erase, oh, there we go. That actually gave me perfect, that works as a highlight. You erase a bit, you can go on top with a white that might otherwise not want to show up for you. and kind of bring some of that tooth back to the paper. And so this is a Faber-Castell ink eraser, or their Faber-Castell Perfection eraser. The ones that you get mostly are going to be like a cream color and have a little brush on the end. This one's from Mexico, so it looks a little bit different, but it's the same thing. Give them a little bit of a gloss there. Not too much. And I'm going to define that again. We'll sharpen the black. Is that the black? Yeah, that's the black. Julie said, you give your pups a raw diet? Yes. They are both on raw. It takes a bit of work because you have to mix in the vitamins and the vegetables. I get a vegetable, pre-made vegetable, and then I get the protein source. It's all organic. They eat better than I do, by far. My Italian greyhounds ate a different prepared raw that you just get at the pet store, but they were small, so it was like made sense financially. But for these guys, I have to go through a vendor, and I don't know how that's going to work with all the COVID stuff and the ability to get meat. They may end up on kibble for a bit if that ends up being a hard thing to find for them, because they have to. It has to be a certain quality to order. You can't just I mean, technically you can feed raw from the grocery store, but it has to be fresh. So I really like the place that I get it. But with everything going on right now, that may end up getting harder and harder to get. Whoops. Yeah, I've been feeding raw for, gosh, close to 15 years. No, it was more like 13 years. I'm trying to think. I'm counting in my head. Yeah, about 13 years. Joshua said, I want goats just so I don't have to mow. That's a good enough reason, although they would destroy my landscaping. Yeah, that wouldn't work in my backyard. Kristen said, goats are jerks, llamas are jerks, donkeys are jerks. My grandpa made international news because his donkey was on the lamb in the backyard for a month. What am I not reading that right? On the lamb in the backyard for a month. What? Was he just, I don't know what happened there. Let's see, where were we? Kristen said, also donkey whispers are a thing. As donkey psychologist, what? A thing for, what? Jason said, goats are okay if you like their bleeding and goat's milk. You could raise a cow and have food for the dogs. Yeah? Let's see. Sally said, we had a pet baby goat growing up. He lived indoors and we put diapers on him until his horn started budding and headbutting became pretty intense. Oh no, but we loved Smokey Joe. How funny. Okay, whoop, that wasn't the color I wanted. What was I looking for? What was I even working on here? I did the eye. Oh, let's pull some more of the dark in here. Yeah, there are a lot of animals that I always liked the idea of. Like when I was a kid, one of my goals in life, I wanted a pet cheetah because I knew someone else had told me about someone they knew who had a pet cheetah. I wanted a pet cheetah. I don't think I do. That doesn't sound like a good time. I will stick greyhounds work. Awesome animals, but I don't think that's actually for me. Of course, I was convinced I was a cheetah myself as a child growing up. So, you know, I didn't make the best. My brain didn't work quite right. If I knew furries were a thing as a child, I would have been a furry. Like until I was like 9 or 10. I don't know. I used to want to pretend all the time like I was a cheetah. My mom thought something was wrong with me. She wasn't wrong. Rachel said, is the Faber-Castell Perfection a good eraser to use? Absolutely. I like it on colored pencil and then like on this. Now you want to be careful not to scrub and scrub and scrub to where you damage the paper. So you want to go on to where you just start to expose it. You saw there where it started to lighten up. It was just enough that when I went on top with the white pencil, it really showed up. And now I do that a lot with Faber-Castell Polychromos. So let's say you only have Faber-Castell Polychromos and you don't have an opaque, like a wax-based white pencil. You can make the Polychromos white really stand out by taking that Perfection eraser, erase the area where you want white, and then put white on top of it. And it will, if you've erased enough of the previous layers, that white will actually show up very well. It's a must-have eraser for me for sure. Marika said, loving this reference photo. Thank you. You're welcome. I need to pull up my pictures of the sloth and see. I don't think he will work in a 2-hour painting session, but I may be able to just do him for a longer, like a full tutorial. Do any of you guys have interesting pets? I think probably the most interesting we have here. Well, we have the greyhounds. My saltwater fish are probably my most interesting. And even there I went boring. I've got clownfish and a firefish. I like them though. I need to contact the guy. I am going to be upgrading their tanks soon though, so that'll be fun. Get some more corals in there. Emily said, have you ever painted or drawn an angelfish? They're my favorite freshwater fish. I know you've done a lot of goldfish. I have. Actually, I included some angelfish on my... It was for the Aquashella painting. I think it was the one Sean got had angelfish on the bottom. I'm pretty sure that did. And I did not make a video out of it. It was a rushed project. I had to get it done really quick. But yes, I have. Unfortunately, not one I can share with you. Because I don't have, well, I have a photo. I never got a good photo of it. I'll have to do those again in the future. I love those guys too. They're so cute. Kristen said, my papa bought the donkey for me. I had to have one because of the song Demonic the Donkey. What? Dominic, not demonic. I got that wrong. The donkey. Goats will destroy your car. They like to stand on the roof. Oh no. That's funny. Where were we? Dan said, God, now I want to draw fan art of you as a cheetah. Don't worry, it'll be G-rated as long as it's G-rated. I was a weird child. Like, okay, so one of my nerd moments, and you know how you have these weird moments that stand out to you? So I used to run around on all fours. I could go fast too, like where I ran very fast, not on my hands and knees, but like my feet and my hands. I was weird. So when we were in 5th grade, they had this race, and they were having the kids do different ways of running, and that was one of them. I was so excited. I'm like, this is the one thing sports-wise or activity-wise I can excel in, because I had a lot of practice running around like a dork on my hands and feet like that. That was the only time that I would call sports, or like PE, I guess, where I did well in something. I'm not athletically inclined. Let's see. Silver Star said, I have an iguana and 10 chickens. Oh, I love chickens. Iguanas they're so big. I'd want one too. They just get too big for me. I don't have the space. Like, where would I keep? He'd need his own room. Let's see. Brittany said, I wanted a pet fox more than anything. My dad said no. So I made a paper mache fox in 1st grade in class and pretended it was real. That sounds like something I would do. I used to find like, what was it? I don't know what they're called. It's like a seed pod of something. They're about that big, maybe the size of a golf ball or smaller. And they're just these fluffy things that will float around, like not a dandelion. They're its own like whole circle thing. It really keeps wake back up, computer. It really keeps its shape. And I used to catch those or find them as a kid and make little houses for them. Let's see. Jackie has a bearded dragon named Bruce. We had one in California. We found him a home, or her a home, when we moved to Texas, because we were like, that was a big move, and I didn't know how to get her tank here. And yeah, I tried talking my husband into getting another bearded dragon when he decided he wanted the snake. So he's got his Western hognose, who's super cute, but I really like bearded dragons. I think they make such good pets. He didn't want to do crickets again. He liked the idea of frozen mice better than crickets. Seems weird. Well, I guess because you don't have to go get live stuff. Although someday I will have red-eyed tree frogs and I'll do frogs, or have to do crickets again. Someday, within a couple of years. Let's see. Jackie said okay, got that one. Joseph said, interesting pets. Does my brother count? Oh, absolutely. I don't know, is he as weird as I was? Julie said, I had chickens, Polish and Silkies. Oh God, they're gorgeous. I love them. And Easter eggers. The Easter eggers lay blue-green eggs. Oh wow, I don't know what those look. I mean, I know what blue and green eggs look like. I don't know what Easter eggers were. I didn't know that was a thing. I have friends who have the Polish and Silky chickens, friends on Facebook that have farms, and they'll post photos of them. They're so cute. We're not allowed to have chickens in the HOA I live in. So nothing here for now. Maybe someday. Gail said, I wanted an ocelot when I was a kid, but now I can't stand cats and I'm extremely allergic. I only have one bird, a male Princess of Wales parakeet that's native to Australia. Birds are such good pets. Noisy and messy, but good. They are just such awesome animals. It amazes me how you can have a bird that is like will bond to people the way they do. I think it's pretty cool. I'm just blending a few areas. It'll darken it a bit. Kristen said, I actually think one of the most interesting animals we had was a guinea hen. Incredibly stupid animals, but entertaining. Oh, wow. Are those the spotted ones? Janie said, I have a farm and we have raised just about everything. My kids show goats, pigs, cows, and horses. I have to say the goats are great. They have such personality. I love the goats so my husband is the only adult in there, and the kids that were actually where I took photos of this guy, they had a petting zoo thing with goats, all these baby goats. They had some adults, but mostly baby goats and baby sheep or lamb and the alpacas and a few other, I'm trying to think what else was in there. But my husband got the food and went in because he had to go feed them. So you've got the one adult male. You have to wonder what the parents were thinking, like, why is this man in there with our kids? I was in there with him. I was taking photos of the goats. But it was he loves goats. So he's in there feeding them just like he's one of the other kids. He loves them so much. And to listen or listen, a grown man squeal like he does when he sees them is so funny. Rachel said, thank you, Lisa. I have a pet green iguana. Grows to be 5 feet long and 12 years old. Yeah, they get really, really big. Unfortunately, most people, when they get them, don't realize that. They'll get them in the pet stores and not do the research. They're like, oh, it's little. Little kid. No, he's going to need his own bedroom. And that tail is like a bat when they're angry. They're so gorgeous, though. One of the prettiest reptiles, I think. Silver Star said, my iguana is less than a year old now, but I'm excited for when he gets to be like 6 or 7 feet. Will be cool just to have him chill in my room. See, it's awesome that he gets that big. I wish everyone knew that when they got them, because yours will be taken care of because you were anticipating that. That's awesome. Let's see. Kelly said, Lisa, I have a cockatiel called Archie Dick, and he's 22 years old and talks. Oh, wow. That is awesome. Medicine said, I have 6 fancy goldfish. Can't get enough of them. They're fun to paint. Oh, definitely. I would consider doing goldfish, but they're so messy, and I ended up going with a saltwater tank again when I set this up. Originally I was thinking beta, because I'm like, oh, that'll be easy. And then I was like, well, maybe goldfish, because that's my logo. I love goldfish. But I ended up with the saltwater tank, and because for some reason my brain says that's easier than goldfish. And the beta. Who, by the way, is doing great. He wasn't doing well. He was having some swim bladder issues. He was bloating. I kept fasting him. I did the boiled pea trick to try to get rid of the bloat, and it just wasn't working. Switched him over to 100% frozen bloodworms. Problem solved. He's doing so much better now. He eats his tail, so he's a hot mess to look at, but he's all swimming around happy now and begging for food again. So he definitely, what a difference that made. So I'm really glad he's doing better. Let's see. Nothing exotic, but I have 2 adorable bunnies with big personalities. Oh, I love bunnies. When I was very little, we used to have hedgehogs in our back garden, and they slept in the garage. Oh my God, hedgehogs might be one of the cutest animals. Me and my husband were having that conversation the other day, trying to think of what's the cutest baby animal. Or just cutest animals in general. Yes, this is what we talk about. But yeah, I totally forgot about hedgehogs. Sugar gliders are pretty high on the list. What was it? Sugar gliders, and he opted for baby goats were still the cutest, I think is what he settled on. Caution, artist at place that I have 2 cats, a boxer, a chihuahua, and over 30 chickens of differing breeds. They're all weird in their own way. I love chickens. Silver Star said, as much as I love birds, I don't think that the ones who fly are good pets. If you keep birds inside the cage, it's kind of mean since they are creatures of the sky. Well, it depends on how they're raised and what size the cage is. I mean, both mine, both Chicken and Nugget have full flight, and they're out of the cage as probably nearly as much as they're in the cage. But they've got big, big cages. And I think that's one thing that bothers me when people will get birds and they don't realize how much space they really need to stretch their wings, to flap their wings, and how much interaction that they should be having. So, I mean, they spend hours a day with my husband before he goes to work, used to be when he gets home, but his schedule's all weird. So those birds get so much attention, and their cages are really, really large. So I think it depends on the situation for sure. But one of the things that has always bothered me is there are far, far too many people who get them and just throw them in a cage and ignore them. Like they just live their life in there, and it definitely sucks. Which color is going to work here? Let's pull some of this green in. I'm going to break up the fur back here. The reason I'm using green is not because I'm making green fur. I just want it to be kind of similar to that background color. But it's also darkening it up, so I'm just going to pull that green right on out. We'll blend it out. I think this is a similar blue. Whoops. Betta fish are amazing. I agree. Where did I just scroll too far? 1 second. Actually, I'll finish this up and then we'll just get caught up on chat and we'll end the live stream that way. I'm just gonna blend that out. And the reason that I did that was just to use kind of something similar to the background color to break up his fur there. It darkened up the background a lot. I really like it. I like how that came out. So normally I'm like, oh, don't get that halo effect where it's just outlined. I don't know. I kind of like it on this one. It almost makes me want to get kind of artsy or creative and outline everything with a darker area. Let's try this though. Sometimes you'll do something and it's not necessarily what you planned. It can look really cool. I want to line a little bit more around the edge here. And I don't even care that it looks like an outline. I just like the way that looked. I'm going to intentionally let that look outlined. So again, not realistic, but I like the look. It just kind of separates them and makes them stand out nicely. If I was going for super realistic, this would not be what I would do, but I like it. And here, this one is the steel blue, so it's very similar to the color I used in the background there. If not the same color, it might be. There we go. And I think my friend Anna will like this guy. So that is it, and then sign it. Normally I would probably sign here, but those things aren't going to show. That's going to look weird balance-wise, so it's just going to hide here. There we go. So he is done. The outline wasn't my plan, but I kind of did it on accident. It ended up being darker, and while I could have blended that out, I just kind of liked how that separated him. So I'm calling that. You can see a few things that I'd like to pull out. A little cartoony, but he's cute. Okay. Let's see, we'll get caught up on questions and then we'll wrap the live stream up. Carol said, just one cute little black and tan piebald dachshund here. He's like my kid. Oh, the piebald are so cute. Kristen said, we have so many animals. My mom had a really pretty horse named Dustin, but it kicked her in the head. Oh no, my dad refused to get another horse. She has pics of the horse in the house. Oh wow. I can understand where he'd be concerned. Phyllis said, we had all the farm animals mentioned. The worst was when we were having dinner and my uncle was casually mentioned the steak was for my cow. Surprised I'm not crazier than I am. See, I couldn't do, I'm too much of a pansy. Like seriously, the zombie apocalypse happens and you have to go get your own food. Like I don't even know where gluten-free pizzas live. Like where would you even find them? Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I guess my husband's grandmother, I think it was, or great-grandmother, one of them couldn't eat chicken for similar reasons. Like, as an adult, was like, nope, not doing it. Cannot do. Let's see. Brittany says, my uncle is a marine biologist and has an iguana he rescued. His name is Edgar and has an entire room to himself. That is awesome. Dean said, the most exotic pet I've had was a hermit crab. My older sister wanted a fair when she was 5. He pinched my mom and escaped from the cage and died. Oh, that's a sad story. I wish they wouldn't do that. That's we talk about pet peeves. That was one of the things that really bugs me with hermit crabs. Hermit crabs, land hermits, they actually have a lot. It's very involved what the proper habitat is for them. They need a certain amount of like a very high humidity. They need sand to be able to bury and molt, and they need deep sand. So like if you've got a hermit crab, yay big, he needs a good 8 inches minimum of sand. And as he gets bigger, he's going to need more and more sand. They need so much, and when they give them away at the fairs like this, they're never in proper enclosures at all. They will be in like these netted or the wire cages. I see that a lot, which will never hold enough humidity. So they need the humidity as part of their way for them to breathe. So they're essentially suffocating because they're not in the, it just drives me crazy that they give those out. Like I have no problem with, just growling in their sleep. I have no problem with people owning hermit crabs. I have a problem with selling them for so cheap because we're decimating the population because they don't bring in captivity. So they're going on the beaches and getting them, and they're used as like this sort of throwaway pet, like a feeder goldfish, but they're not. And we are decimating this side right here. We're decimating them in the wild. And it's a real, like where there used to be just thousands and thousands on the beach, there aren't anymore. That's a problem. That, and we're taking so many seashells from the beach, they need those as their homes, and that's what they live in. They don't produce their own shell. So yeah, we definitely need a few more regulations, I think, on some, as much as I'm more on the side of, I see the little things I want to change, on the side of I would rather have less government involvement and stuff. There are certain things when it comes to environment protections that I think people will naturally just destroy, like we're seeing with the hermit crabs. And that's been going on for years. I just want to kind of give them a glow of that green since it's a little different from the background. So yeah, anyway, total side rant there. Sorry about that. And I just want to break that up a little bit. Sorry, if I sit in front of something, I will just continue to fuss with it. Let's see. And the worst part about the hermit crab thing is the people who are collecting them know, half the people who get them from like the fairs and stuff, they have no idea. No, you think of it as like, oh, it's a caterpillar I found and I'll just set him free. And like, that's not how it works. So anyway, moving on. Dan said we have 2 snakes. One is a 22-year-old. Oh, wow. The other is 8, and a peach-fronted conure who is 24. They never exist in the same room. Yeah, that's how we are with the birds and the dogs. Like they aren't together. Wait, no, he's not on his back. But we have to, now that we've got these heavy duty cages, I can bring Chicken out into here to hang out. As long as he's in there, then the dogs can't get to him because obviously my priority is keeping him safe. But yeah, we'll see how he likes it. We put him in it the other day and brought him out into the living room. Chicken was so excited. He thought that was great. We'll see long term though. I mean, not long term, his main cage, his chicken mansion's in the other room. But as far as coming and hanging out with us. Let's see, Christine said, my mother taught us as small children to make wishes on those floating seed pods and blow them away to be granted. I think I heard that too, but I kept keeping them as pets and making them houses. We just jumped in the chat. Where were we? Oh, that really jumped. 1 second. There we go. Jason said, how about Joe's? Joe's. See, I get caught. I'm so far behind in chat. I never know what, some of the times when there's no reference, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Rachel said baby chinchillas. Oh, yeah. God. And even adult chinchillas are so cute. Madison said, I recently got a painted turtle by far messier than goldfish, but guppies are the cleanest fish I have. Yeah, guppies, I found that too. Guppies were, when I was a kid, we had them. Rhonda said, oh my goodness, it's 3, gotta go. Will you post the finished piece in the Facebook group? Yeah, I should get, I mean, this is finished. So yeah, this is it, but it's kind of faded on yours. I could definitely, well, it's fairly similar. I'll have to get a good photo for you guys. Dan said, my dad and I came across a hedgehog in Spain, and my dad came up to it brandishing a chisel, which he used to gently scratch its back. Gail said, Australian, I don't know, I don't know what it is. They're the most adorable animals on the planet, and it has a small pocket-like kangaroo. They smile all the time. What? Wow, I need to look that up. I don't know what that is. Somebody post it for me in the art group. Silver Star said, what's your favorite owl breed? Barn owl, great horned owl, eagle owl, elf owl, burrowing owl, pygmy owl, barred owl, other. Oh gosh, I don't know if I would say probably eagle owl, just because I painted them so much. Like when you paint something a whole lot, you just kind of feel like, I don't know, bond isn't the right word. Affinity towards maybe? I don't know. I just really like them. I would say eagle owl. I like them all though. Let's see. Jason said, how about baby marsupials? When they're babies, they tend to be kind of bald. They're not no, not all of them. That's not true. When I think about it. I don't know. I think baby possums or opossums, those are adorable too. Super cute. And I love how they hang onto the back of their moms. Kirsten said, I had a pig caught at a pig scramble when I was 9. My dad, oh God. See, I could not be an actual farmer. Like, I understand circle of life and everything, but I'm a pansy. Is L'Oreal said, I had pet mice. Oh, pet mice are so cute. We had one. Speaking of snakes, my mom and I had both worked at this pet store called Super Pets, and then Petco bought them out. Well, Petco had these really weird rolls. Some guy had a mouse. He put it in or I think it was a pinky at the time. Maybe it was a fuzzy. He put it in to feed a snake, and the snake wouldn't eat it. And he was afraid. He's like, I don't want this little thing just to die. So he brought it back to the store. Well, they can't bring it back into their inventory because Petco's weird with how they did stuff. And so my mom took it home. My mom and my dad took turns bottle feeding with a little, or eyedropper feeding this mouse. I think they named her Templeton. And they had that mouse for, well, her whole life. I mean, they hand-fed it. Cutest little thing. I wish they lived longer. I would want some. So freaking cute. I'd get attached though and cry. Fleur said, just wanted to say hi and thank you for all your video tutorials. My favorite pet was a little pig who acted like the 3 dogs. But the funniest part was my chicken. Aw. Whoops, that's rolled. There we. Whoops, where were we? One more. Here we go. Joshua said, you need a 3rd stream a week dedicated to ranting because your rants are great. Annette said, I do enough of them during the day by myself, just randomly. You see stuff online and it's just like, why is this a thing? I have a lot of rants. Annette said, it's such a shame about these poor animals. It's been good talking to you all. Hope you have a good weekend. Thanks, Lisa, for everything. It's been really good. Thanks for joining, Annette. Let's see. Silver Star said, before you end the stream, can you show us the birds? Don't have to. Just curious what they look like. They're sleeping right now until my husband, he won't get up for another hour or 2. So we've shifted their schedule so they stay up at night with us. I don't want to wake them up and wake him up. So not this time. I have photos. I don't know if I have nugget photos because he's my husband's bird. I know I've got lots of chicken on my Instagram if you go back a ways. I haven't really been posting photos lately. I haven't really posting much lately. And then of course chicken on most of my edited videos. He's the intro there. If you want to see him, just look at one of, like the octopus. If you go to the octopus, you'll see him walking across my pencils. Chicken's a cute chicken. Phyllis said, is there an unpainted part in the very top right-hand corner? No, it may be a little bit. Yeah, it looks like. I'll just throw that in there. No, it's too dark. Whatever. Can you tell I don't really care? Sort of. Let's see. Phyllis, or Baby Panda said, your wind chime sounds so beautiful. Thank you for these extra art sessions. Love them. Thanks for joining. Silver Star said, eagle owls are beautiful. I agree. Kristen said, my favorite animals are definitely orca whales and sharks. Sharks are so vital and misunderstood. Yes, I agree. Orcas are one of my favorites. Our orcas have always been one of my favorites. I'm good, Danielle. How are you doing? I haven't seen you. Okay. 3:13. Yeah, we are good for today. I'm going to go... They're just passed out on my floor. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you to our moderators, Nick and Joseph. They both have videos. No, yes, they do have videos. They have channels here on YouTube. Make sure to check them out. Links are in the video description. Awesome art channels. Tell them thank you because they do so much work for me. And thank you guys for being here and watching. And those of you who gave super chats, thank you for those too. You guys are all awesome. Yeah, that's it. Always the awkward end. Bye. I'll see you guys Wednesday. I'm not sure what Wednesday is. I think we're going to be working on the honeycomb in acrylics. Maybe. We'll see. I'll see you Wednesday. Bye.